moving on a bit, this is something I've actually spoken to you about in the past, both on your solo tour and when you're touring Bowling for Soup. In the beginning of May, which is when we'll probably broadcast this section, we have Mental Health Week. I
Yeah.
think this World Mental Health Week or the UK one, but it's looking at my calendar up there. It's the 13th to the 19th of May, and it is something which we at Moshville Times have a lot of skin in the game. Let's put it that way. I don't think there's a single person involved with our website, and there's a lot of us who isn't immediately or indirectly or very closely affected by them with themselves or somebody close to them having a mental health issue.
Okay.
And they vary in terms of scale and so on. And
Sure.
we're not alone. And we work with so many of the other magazines and so forth, and the PR companies as well, and everybody is aware, which is a good thing. The one that I'm going to jump back to the song Anxiety, because it obviously that popped up in the last album. The name is there. There's no hiding behind it. What is the story behind that anxiety? Because I'm just obviously this is one that's come from yourself.
Yeah, well, so a little bit of backstory, and we've talked about it, as you said several times, and I don't ever mind talking about this. I started suffering from depression and anxiety in my early 40s, and so it was late in life for me, and I always kind of the life of the party happy guy, and all of a sudden I found myself, you know, with some pretty crazy thoughts and emotions and inabilities to function, and um I had a really hard time. And so I it took me a while to work through that, to figure out what was going on. Therapy, medication, more therapy, more medication, an amazing wife, supportive friends.
Mhm.
But I got there, and I live a pretty normal life as far as that stuff is concerned these days, as long as I maintain it, and I take my medication, and I see my doctors regularly, doctors plural regularly, and like I said, take decent care of myself, drinking lots of water, making sure that I'm getting sunshine when I can, moving, those things. But so I wanted to write a song about anxiety because obviously it's a huge part of my life and what I get asked about a lot, what people, want to talk about with me. If people aren't asking me about my own anxiety, they'll ask me like, well, what's it like starting therapy? I'm nervous, or like, how do I even start talking about medication or this? So it's obviously just a big part of my life. But I wanted to write a song that sounded happy, that was like this song about anxiety, but like it's almost like it's a Broadway production. Like, it's like you just can imagine dancers coming out, whenever it's time, and that's sort of like what the song does. Is it's just like, okay, everything's normal, I'm late for work or whatever, or I'm just sitting here chilling by the pool and everything's fine. And then all of a sudden, it's like Gary's playing drums in my chest, and there they are. Hello, hello, anxiety. And um, so it's almost a spoof on itself, to where it's I definitely don't think it's a funny thing, but I think those of us who have dealt with it for a long time, not when it's happening,
Mhm.
but can find the humor in all of it, to just go, man, I don't, I, it's, I was fine, like I was sitting there enjoying myself, having a cold beer by petting my dog, and everything was great. Then all of a sudden, I'm curled up in the fetal position in bed, and it just like, this is silly. And but that's really what that song is to me, and what it's all about.
I've spoken to a couple of other artists so far, and music can be a massive part in helping people get through problems in various ways. How has Bone for Soup or your solo career? We mentioned about just keeping busy, but have you found that music for yourself has been a way of helping to deal with the problems you've got?
Yeah, I mean, music, it's funny because I didn't really see it as a form of therapy when I first started. It's really just something to do. And writing songs was a gateway to being able to get up on stage and make people laugh. It's always for me been about getting on a microphone and saying funny shit. And so like everything else to me was how can I do that more? How can I be on a microphone entertaining people more? And in the most comfortable environment. So in a band, I got 3 other dudes there. So like I'm not a stand-up comedian, but I can be if I want to be. It's the safest place because can always start a new song. But the therapy aspect of the music started probably about 6, 8 years into the band. Probably around the Let's Do It for Johnny, or and Drunk Enough to Dance, where I started writing a little bit more from real experience and from the heart. And those would be the songs that people would ask me about, just like you just did, like, what's the deal with this? Or like, why did, like, what's that line mean? Or, oh man, this just really sums up what I'm thinking or feeling. And so I guess what happened for me is that I realized that like people um genuinely gravitated for me talking about real stuff.
Yeah.
And so that's really what Bowling for Soup became, was more real stuff, big exaggerations, big, making them big stories, something, maybe what's left of the story is this little minor thing, but all still stemming from some sort of reality or sparked from some sort of reality. And what that did was it allowed me to start writing songs like When We Die or Turbulence, or, that had like more of the emotional side of things, or songs that you might not even think about um, as being super sweet love songs, or heartbreak songs like Surf Colorado, that don't feel like that. You don't really realize what you're listening to, but if you go and listen to the words, you're like, shit, man, this guy hurting over this girl. And that song's an actual true story. Ohio, Come Back to Texas. That's another one. You don't really have to know how bad it hurt that she wasn't there anymore. That's not the point. The point is for you to hear the story and see it in your head and all that. And so what country has done for me is allowed me to stop doing that, to stop doing the exaggeration aspect of it and just tell the story.
Mm.
And so I've really found a cool balance and therapeutic aspect to writing now. Which I know sounds silly coming from the funny guy. And
Not at
the
all.
guy that, but like I know that there's going to be some readers going, "Oh God, Jaret, what's happened to you?" But it really is true. It's something to where it's like I I just love writing for both bands. I love making people laugh, but let's be honest, there's not a lot of substance to the song I Want to Be Brad Pitt, like that.
I've got a great chorus though.
Right? Just saying it over and over and over again.
Having been through the journey yourself, you're talking about doctors and therapists and so forth. Somebody who's watching this is sitting there, they're not having a good time. Somebody's not having a good time. You pick up on a friend who's down, who's depressed, who, God forbid, is suicidal. What advice would you give to that person? What would you tell them they need to do?
First of all, reach out. If you're really, really worried about the person, you might need to reach out to family. You might need to reach out to, their loved ones. You need to do your best to be a good friend and figure out what's going on. It's not your job to save their life. You can't put that kind of pressure on yourself. But what you can do is be there and try and make sure that the right things are getting through to that person. But biggest thing that you can do is reach out and not be abrasive and not go, I know something's wrong. What's wrong? Be like, hey man, I just was thinking about you. And if you want to go grab a beer or grab some lunch or something, or if you want to just get together and park outside and sit and watch the birds and shoot the shit or whatever, let me know. I was just thinking about you is a really big one. People who that hits hard with people. I mean, that still hits hard for me. Like I'll get it and I'll just be like, somebody will go, hey, I was just thinking about you. I thought I'd reach out. And I will literally take stock of myself and go, no, this isn't a bad thing, but I will go, okay, am I all right? Did I put out like some sort of a weird thing or whatever? Or is this person just being a good friend, or is it both?
Mhm.
But I would just say, I think it's such a hard position to be in.
Yeah.
when you're not the one that's hurting, but you know someone else is, because there is literally only a certain amount you can do. So you have to be very careful with the amount of pressure that you put on yourself, and the amount of blame you put on yourself if something bad does happen.
Mhm.
But what you can do is offer up, an ear, a voice, a hug, a place to stay, you know, food, warmth, you know, those are the things that you can do. And but I think number one, reach out.
Yeah, straightforward answer, and it's the one piece of advice we always try to give people, and the different ways you mentioned of doing that are really good as well. It's always nice to have a few options as well.
Mhm. Right. Yeah.
Um,
That's just it. Sometimes maybe you're not the friend. Maybe you're not, I'll be honest with you. There's friends within I have different circles of friends. So I have my band friends, and I have my life friends that live where I live, but then I have my friend group that's over here. And it's not uncommon for somebody to go, hey, hey, would you want to reach out to such and such, just see what's up? Because I was with them the other night, and just, I don't know, something felt weird, and maybe it's this and maybe it's this, but you want to just reach out, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's not even talking shit behind somebody's back. That's you guys being a good friend group and
yeah.
checking up on people, because again, sometimes you don't have that relationship with that friend, or you've already asked, and maybe they didn't share it with you, but they would share it with somebody else, so I just think giving as many landing strips as possible is the best you can do.
Mhm. I just want to finish off one little thing. Be about a decade or so now, you did your farewell tour. The band was pretty much, it was over, and I actually saw a post on Instagram from yourself. You post an awful lot of stuff on Instagram. Guys, seriously, follow Jaret's Instagram stuff. It's really, really good.
Thanks, man.
But it was one thing you did say, this was it. I mean, it wasn't just a shouldn't we? It wasn't just a motley crew. Let's sign something and then come back again in 2 years. It was, this isn't right. The band's over. And then for whatever reasons, you realize, I think maybe this was to do with realizing the music was good for you.
Yeah.
The band continued and it came back, and now you are as big as you've ever been. I mean, that sellout to recently, having to book additional shows. That arena show is the biggest headline date I think you've ever done.
Yeah.
Down in Cardiff, it's absolutely phenomenal. Um, I want to say something on a personal note, and I'm probably going to get a bit upset when I say this, so please do bear with me. About 2, 3 years ago, I was going through a really awful time. It was around about Christmas about 3 years back, for various reasons, which I won't go into. Um, One of the things that really helped me, I'd come in from work kept me going. I was fine at work. I had some colleagues there who knew what was going on, who were massively supportful, and I can't give them enough thanks either. I'd come into the house, and this is when it started to hit. You're on your own. There's nobody else there. I'd go into the kitchen. I'd start make my dinner or make my packed lunch for the next day, and then I would shout at my smart speaker, Google, Spotify, play Bowling for Soup. And for about 15, 20 minutes, I'd be singing along to this, whatever it was it threw out. It'd be 1985. It would be Girl, the Bad Guys, what, just songs I knew the lyrics to. And for that 15 or 20 minutes, my mind was somewhere else. I was happy,
Yeah.
and it helped. And I just want to say thank you
Man. I
for helping me get through what was one of the most difficult times I've had in recent years. I'm through it now. I'm good and I'm
Yeah.
happy. But you guys and many other bands, not just you, but other artists as well, you helped. Thank you.
Well, I thank you for saying that. And yeah, I can go back to that time when 2013, and I put the picture up recently. This was the meeting. This is the one where I told them, like, we're gonna phase this out. We're gonna do a farewell UK thing, and then we're gonna go to streaming only shows, which is so stupid. I mean, it was obvious. The writing was on the wall. Um, but music, that's what Frank Turner did for me. I would put Frank Turner stuff on, and like, whether it was painful to hear or whether it was uplifting to hear, whatever it was he was talking to me about, because he was talking to me, you know. it just put me into a different place. And it almost like caused this clarity of like, then I would, you come out of that and just be like, okay, well, wait a minute, And so, after I got through the divorce and the custody battle and all of that, I realized that music was, not that I ever didn't think it was important, but I could still do it. And the guys were amazing to me. But thank you for saying that, man. That's honestly, it's so crazy to dumb it down to this, but because that's not what you just said. But that's been my thing all along, is like, I want people to be able to come home from a shitty day and put Bowling for Soup on and have that and just be like, okay, this is my time, and I've really, really tried to continue to make us that band, and not sing about politics or or honestly really even what's going on in the world. I mean, we'll do the pop punk thing and say like the world is going to shit or whatever, but it's like that's such a trope. It's like I'm not in any way like I'm great. My kids are fed. I don't agree with everything that's happening. The end, right?
Yep.
But anyway, I'm glad you're okay, brother. And that
Thank you.
means an awful lot to me. And it's a real big deal. And you know what? Thank you for using your platform to spread this because we're going to get to other people and somebody else is going to read or watch this conversation and be like, man, maybe I need to talk to somebody,
Yeah. Well, that's the idea.
Awesome.
Jaret, I've got Zoom telling me that I need to buy an upgraded package if I want to record anymore because I'm a skin flitting on the free one.
I get it.
Thank you so much for your time. I know a couple of us at least will be down at Download. Unfortunately, due to work, I can't make it to that one, but 100% when you hit the UK again and you're coming around, I'll be there, whether it's for the Country Act, whether it's acoustic tours, whether it's for the full band. I shall absolutely be there. Thank you so much again for your time. And
thank you, brother,
for all the music. It means the world to us.
Thank you, brother. I'll talk to you soon, man.
Shelby, you take care.
Take care.